All right, YouTube, it's time for a little bit of a Super Bowl reaction. Not to the game, because the game itself, I don't really pay attention to sports. I'm not a football fan. I watch the Super Bowl mainly to like troll sports fans because they get all hyped up and like the dudes they get all drunk on their cheap piss beer like fucking Budweiser or Coors or something. And then a lot of people and they go out and they topple cars or throw rocks or something when their team wins or loses. So it'd be a little bit of a problem. But I'm going to analyze it from the political perspective because that's what I generally do. You saw, if you were hanging out on any social media, especially Twitter, because that's sort of where people air their 140 character or less grievances. In the first half of the game, of course, the Atlanta Falcons were repeatedly scoring and basically shut the Patriots out. The Patriots obviously won in the end, but in the first half of the game, it looked like, oh, well, the Patriots, what the fuck are they doing or something? And it was used as a racial and political issue by people on the left. Said there was one thing, it was like, oh, blackest team in football is destroying the whitest team in football. Ha ha ha, you mad cracker white boy pasty asses. You can't jump and do sports. So there was that level of it, the rather lowbrow level. Then on a slightly more sophisticated or human level, I suppose you could say, was the political discourse going on of, oh, well, Trump is kind of friendly with Tom Brady and says he wants the Patriots to win. So, you know, all the various people were hoping that the Patriots would lose because then Trump would have chosen the losing team. And it's sort of a symbolic thing almost. People, because Trump talks so much about liking liking to win, liking winners, wanting the United States to win. Oh, we're going to win so much you'll say, Mr. President, we're tired of winning. Can you please stop and stuff? That it almost becomes symbolic that they want loss to happen. They actually want bad things to happen to one group or another, or to the country as a whole, just to sort of take the wind out of Trump's sails. I half expect that they're going to say, oh, well, it would be great if we had a depression right now so we could blame it on Trump or something. So then there's halftime, and Lady Gaga doesn't go political, which, you know, I didn't even bother to weigh in on that, because it's like, who cares? One way or the other. If she gets political, she gets political. It's a halftime show. She's not a football player. She's not a politician. She can do what she wants. If it's entertaining, it's entertaining. And she's an alright singer. Not, you know, I don't really like that much modern music. She's more listenable than some because it's, you know, heavily electronic. It sort of harkens back almost to like the mid-90s sort of electronic music in some senses. And she can dance. And she actually is capable of singing, which puts her head and shoulders above a lot of other modern artists. Let's face it, a lot of them, they can't even sing a line without auto-tune. At least she has a voice, so she's got talent. Okay, I'll just say that. Whether you like the music itself or not, at the very least, she's capable of making music in a general sense. More than you can say for a lot of them. You know, maybe Justin Bieber or somebody like that. Then the third quarter begins, and the Patriots shut the Atlanta Falcons out and continuously score. And, of course, they win in overtime, which this is the first Super Bowl, I believe, that went into overtime and was decided there. So all of a sudden, you've got, like, the switching around. You've almost got the same story you had with, like, Brexit or Trump. Something that is a massive underdog. Everyone looking at the way things are is severely underestimating their capabilities and their chances. You know, like the New York Times or HuffPost, when they say, oh, well, you know, Trump has a 1% chance of winning. Brexit has a 5% chance of going through. The Atlanta Falcons now have a 91 point something percent chance of winning the Super Bowl. And then it doesn't pan out. It turns out the underdog comes back, surges on ahead, and manages to narrowly win. It's the same goddamn mimetic story over and over and over again, that against all odds, in all of these major events happening lately, the side that's more in tune with this sort of mimetic front manages to eke out a narrow victory over their opponents, time and time again, in direct opposition to what's said by people in the media, a lot of very visible people on social media, increasingly. You know, politicians, establishment, political movements, and so forth. You've got a situation where a bunch of leftists have turned the Super Bowl into a political shit show and said, oh, well, yeah, now it's about race. Haha, take that, whitest team in football. You will lose. Oh, Trump's team is losing. Haha, this is a sign that God hates Trump or something like that. And they speak too soon, and they end up with a huge amount of egg on their face. As far as the football itself goes, I don't care. I don't really pay attention to sports. Like the Olympics, when I was like a kid, back in the 90s, yeah, I'd watch their coverage because they actually paid attention to what was going on. It was just event after event after event with relatively few interruptions. Now it's basically, oh, here's our half-hour mini documentary on this Kenyan, marathon runner and his backstory about how he used to make his own shoes out of rattlesnake hide and go running out in the desert to train for the Olympics, a heartwarming tale and so forth. Football is a little bit similar. There's almost more fixation at this point on the ads than on the actual game, on the politics of whatever halftime show happens to occur, on the politics, in this case, of the game at large. I don't really pay attention to the sports side anyway, but I'm going to pay attention to the political side because it does matter. It's part of public consciousness. It's part of public perception. For apparently a large number of people, the Super Bowl was an opportunity for a team that Trump had publicly expressed admiration for to be beaten by the blackest team in football for racial and political reasons. They were hoping it would happen. They were buffered in their belief that it would happen by, pre-game analysis, which said, well, the Falcons sort of, in some weird statistical sense, had some, invisible advantage, despite the fact that anything can happen in a Super Bowl. And so they took stock of that. Then first half of the game goes by. Lo and behold, what have the Patriots done? They kicked a field goal. And that's all they did for the first half of the game. They're like, oh, well, we basically got this in the bag. Falcons score one more time. They basically got this thing. The Patriots have to make up so much ground. What the fuck's going to happen? And then they completely destroyed the Atlanta Falcons for the second half of the game. And so all these people online, there was one person on a Business Insider article about Trump and Melania and Barron and all the others. They're watching the Super Bowl, and they had their little area there cordoned off, and they were watching the game. And the first comment there was like, oh, if Trump wants to watch his Patriots lose the Super Bowl, why doesn't he do it at the White House on their theater there? And it was very funny because, of course, this comment was posted before the second half of the game began, when indeed, probably even a lot of Patriots fans are like, well, maybe I should just go to bed at this point or at least drink another beer. And it just evolved into this weird shit show. If you go to a place where you'd expect more people to maybe be fans of Trump or just memetics in a general sense, regardless of their even political affiliations, they were all hoping that the Patriots would make up lost time. And towards the end, they get tied, goes into overtime. They're like, oh, I've got one last, there was one poster. It's like, I've got one last delegate, Tom Brady, take this power in charge or something like that, with a picture of Ted Cruz, the famous picture of him that people used to joke about, I want the delegates, Donald, and stuff like that. And it's Ted Cruz. He's looking very sort of hurly-burly and slowly walking down the hallway. And that was very funny to me. That was on the sports page of 4chan. I'm just there to troll. I'm just there to... I don't care who wins or who loses. I'm there to bother whoever's losing and whoever's winning, ultimately. But yeah, it became a political show. This was a political freak show more than it was sports, almost. If you were paying attention to the discourse online, it's like 90% political. Has nothing to do with football. Football is a bunch of dudes in spandex patting each other on the ass and sharing a communal shower. Throw a ball around for a while and see who can score more points. That's what it boils down to. It's not politics. It's not religion. It has nothing to do with race. There's no homogenized team in the whole NFL. It just doesn't exist. And so, what are you fucking smoking there? So I imagine people in Atlanta are slightly upset. People here in New England probably less so. And of course, the Patriots for some number of years, they get called the Cheatriots anyway, because people rumor that everyone wants them to win because they're like, oh, we're like America's team or something. And so they let them off with murder and so forth, which isn't exactly the case. But outside of New England, yeah, the New England Patriots are rather unpopular outside of where I happen to be located. As a person who lives in New England, yeah, there's a de facto sense of the Patriots are our team, And when they win, there's more money coming into our states. Honestly, there's another reason that people would root for them. It's good for the economic situation, if nothing else. So Atlanta, of course, didn't they just build a new stadium and everything? They modeled it after the Pantheon in Rome or some crap like that. And it's like this massive multi-million-dollar complex with a weird like eye hole roof and everything that can fold back. I think they did. I think that was the Atlanta Falcons. I could be totally wrong there. But the political analysis of the game is funnier than the game itself. The game is just literally dudes in spandex running around in a field that's invariably not even real grass. But if you look deeper at public response, it was almost all political. Before the game even began, what was everyone talking about? Oh, will Lady Gaga go political, or will Lady Gaga not go political? And most of them thought that she would, and of course she really didn't. She just stood there and sang. People have even relegated the mind-numbing boringness of lamestream sports to the political arena now. Rather funny. That's about all. Peace out.